Former casino workers are speaking out, and what they're saying about certain slot machines might save you thousands of dollars. There are 11 specific slots that insiders warn you to stay away from in 2025, and the reasons why will completely change how you see casino floors. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which machines to walk past. Let's break down the 11 worst slots that casino workers consistently warn people to avoid, starting with number 1, Dracula. This Gothic-themed slot from Light & Wonder promises a moody vampire adventure, but insiders who've worked casino floors say Dracula is one of the most disappointing new releases of the year. Here's what those familiar with the machine say. Dracula features a wheel bonus and what appears to be average base game pay lines, which seems promising at first glance. Sounds fun, right? The problem is, to accommodate the bonus structure, the base game has been engineered with severely suppressed payouts. According to floor tech estimates, the hit frequency for line hits is alarmingly low. You might go dozens or even hundreds of spins with virtually nothing to show for it. The bonus wheel, which is the main selling point, is a masterclass in hype over substance. Most spins land on the lowest values, and even when you do trigger the bonus, a rare event, the payout is often barely above break-even. The hard-on-reel feature and multipliers do little to improve outcomes. They feel like sugar-coated promises that rarely deliver. Players are drawn in by the dark, atmospheric theming and the possibility of a big bonus, but the regular gameplay is brutal enough to drain a bankroll before any decent reward shows up. Many casinos position Dracula in visible, high-traffic areas, hoping the theme and bonus buzz will lure players in. What those players don't realize is the math behind the setup. The odds of even a medium payout, let alone a bonus, are stacked heavily against them. Over time, casino hosts have seen countless players feed credits into Dracula, hoping for that big wheel spin or bonus trigger, only to walk away with nothing or minuscule gains. The base game doesn't offer enough small or medium wins to sustain play, making the chase for the bonus feel like trying to catch a ghost. And that's why Dracula earns the first mention in this list. It uses showy features and atmospheric design to mask one simple truth. The house edge here is brutal, and the player is far more likely to walk away empty-handed than victorious. Machine number 2, Phoenix Link. This fire-themed progressive slot from Aristocrat looks explosive, vibrant, and packed with potential. But according to former floor managers and people familiar with its math model, Phoenix Link is one of the most predatory hold-and-spin games on the floor. Here's what those who've overseen these machines have revealed. Phoenix Link advertises massive progressive prizes through its signature Link feature, which triggers when players land the required fireball symbols. Sounds exciting, right? The problem is that the entire game leans heavily on that bonus, and the base game has been gutted because of it. You might be thinking, why? But before we answer that, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and share with us in the comments your go-to slot machine that always pays. Now back to the video. The RTP on Phoenix Link is notoriously volatile, often sitting in the high 80s to very low 90s depending on jurisdiction. That puts it below the average for modern slots. And the gameplay reflects it. Players can go painfully long stretches without any meaningful hits. The line wins are tiny, often returning 5 to 10% of a bet, and they almost never stack enough to keep your bankroll afloat while waiting for the bonus. The Link feature itself is where Phoenix Link feels the most manipulative. Most players expect at least a decent return once they finally trigger the hold and spin round, but the majority of bonuses land on the absolute minimum values. Getting a full board or hitting one of the fireball jackpots is extremely rare. Casino insiders estimate the odds of landing even the mini jackpot are far worse than what the machine's flashy animations lead players to believe. Casinos strategically place Phoenix Link in high-visibility hot zones because the fireballs, loud wind sounds, and progressive meters draw people in. A rising jackpot labeled $10,000 Major is hard for most players to ignore. But here's what the average player never sees. The math behind those jackpots is crushing. According to those familiar with internal slot settings, the odds of hitting a major or grand on Phoenix Link are astronomically low, often in the tens of millions to one range. Hosts have watched countless players hammer the spin button, chasing that flaming bonus round, only to walk away devastated after dozens of dead spins or a bonus that pays a fraction of what they invested. And worst of all, even when someone does land a Phoenix Link jackpot, the combined player losses across the entire network still outweigh that single payout by an enormous margin. That's the design. The link mechanic is built to look rewarding, but in reality, it's one of the tightest traps on the casino floor. But unbelievably, there's still one slot coming up that takes the deceptive bonus concept even further, and we'll get to that shortly. Machine number 3, 88 Fortunes Diamond. The 88 Fortunes series from Bally has been a casino staple for years. The Diamond version was supposed to be an upgrade with better features and more winning potential. But those who worked with these machines tell a very different story about how 88 Fortunes Diamond actually performs. The game uses a few bat feature where golden symbols can randomly upgrade to become wild symbols. This sounds like a generous mechanic that should create more winning combinations. But the few bat feature triggers frequently enough to keep you engaged, while the actual symbol upgrades rarely result in significant wins. Here's where things get tricky. 88 Fortunes. Diamond requires you to bet on all 88 pay lines to be eligible for the progressive jackpots, which are prominently displayed above the machine. This means your minimum bet is typically 88 cents to $1 per spin, far higher than the 1 cent per line that the game implies is possible. Most players don't realize they need to bet maximum lines to qualify for the progressives. They play at lower bet levels, thinking they still have a chance at the jackpots when in reality, they've disqualified themselves. This creates a situation where casual players are getting even worse value than the already mediocre base game provides. The free games bonus on 88 Fortunes Diamond is also notoriously difficult to trigger. You need to land 3 or more gong symbols, and machine performance data shows that the gong distribution makes this a rare occurrence. Players can easily spend $100 to $200 before seeing the bonus round, and when it finally hits, the payouts often don't justify the wait. Floor workers have described watching players become increasingly frustrated with 88 Fortunes Diamond. The constant foo bat teases and the prominently displayed progressives create the illusion that big wins are always just around the corner, but the mathematical reality is a steady drain on your bankroll with minimal compensation. Speaking of teasing features, the next slot uses a spinning wheel mechanic that looks generous but is actually one of the stingiest bonus features in the industry. Machine number 4, the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune brand from IGT is one of the most recognizable in the casino industry. The triple extreme spin version promises 3 times the excitement with multiple wheel features and enhanced winning potential. But people familiar with this machine's performance warn that it's actually triple the disappointment. The main selling point of triple extreme spin is the 3-level wheel bonus system. You have the standard wheel spin, a super wheel, and an extreme wheel, each promising progressively bigger prizes. The game is designed to trigger the standard wheel fairly regularly, but the prizes on that first level wheel are almost always minimal, typically paying just a few dollars. The super wheel and extreme wheel, where the real money is supposed to be, trigger so infrequently that most players will never see them in a normal playing session. And here's the manipulative part. Every time you trigger the standard wheel, you can see the super wheel and extreme wheel sitting there inactive, reminding you that bigger prizes exist if you just keep playing. Triple extreme spin has an RTP around 92 to 93%, depending on casino configuration. That's below average for modern slots, but the real damage comes from how the tiered wheel system affects player psychology. A common pattern emerges of escalating bets. After hitting the standard wheel a few times and winning small amounts, players start betting more aggressively, convinced that bigger bets will unlock the super or extreme wheels. This belief has no basis in the actual math, but the visual presentation of the 3-tier system strongly implies a connection between bet size and bonus level. Wheel of Fortune. Triple extreme spin cabinets are often placed near casino entrances or in high-traffic walkways. The large physical wheel on top of the machine and the familiar brand name draw in casual players who trust the Wheel of Fortune name based on the television show. But that trust is misplaced when it comes to the actual payout mathematics. And speaking of misplaced trust in familiar brands, number 5 takes licensed slot manipulation to a whole new level. Machine number 5, Galactic Quest. This space-themed progressive from Konami looks futuristic, colorful, and packed with interstellar rewards, but according to former slot techs and floor supervisors, Galactic Quest is one of the biggest bankroll traps disguised as a fun adventure. Here's what people familiar with its math model have revealed. Galactic Quest relies heavily on its cosmic bonus rounds and multi-level progressives, which are advertised all over the cabinet with glowing planets and star animations. Sounds promising, right? The issue is that the game funnels so much of its payout budget into those rare bonus hits that the base game is nearly barren. The RTP on Galactic Quest varies, but many casinos run it in the high 80s to low 90s range, already below average, and because it's a high volatility title, the gameplay feels even tighter than the numbers suggest. Players routinely go long stretches without seeing anything beyond tiny 3-10% returns on their spins. The free spin feature, which looks like the highlight of the game, is notoriously stingy. It triggers rarely, and when it does, the cosmic big win animations often mask extremely small payouts. Most bonus rounds end with wins that don't even cover 10 spins in the base game. Then there's the real hook, the planetary progressives. Each planet represents a jackpot tier, and they hover above the reels, tempting players with rising dollar amounts. But insiders say the odds of landing the higher tier planets, especially the major and ultra jackpots, are absurdly low. Far lower than what the cabinet's animations make players assume. Casinos love Galactic Quest because it's a psychological magnet. The cabinet lights up, the reels whoosh with space sound effects, and the jackpot planets slowly rotate in front of you like they're just within reach. But behind all that spectacle is harsh math. Nearly all the value is locked behind progressives that 99.99% of players will never touch. Slot hosts have watched players feed bill after bill into Galactic Quest, trying to unlock a single planetary jackpot that almost never drops. And when one finally hits across the network, which might only happen a few times a year, the collective losses leading up to that moment massively outweigh the prize itself. But believe it or not, the next machine on this list uses an even more misleading visual trick to keep players chasing bonuses that almost never pay. Machine number 6, Wizard of Oz, Road to Emerald City. This WMS cabinet, based on the classic film Wizard of Oz, looks magical with its vibrant colors, memorable characters, and promise of following Dorothy down the yellow brick road to big wins. But people who worked with this machine reveal that the only place this yellow brick road leads is straight to an empty wallet. The Wizard of Oz Road to Emerald City uses a unique reel structure with a special Emerald City feature area above the main reels. Every spin activates both the main game and the Emerald City area, which sounds like it should provide double the winning chances. But the game's overall RTP is divided between these two areas, so you're not actually getting any advantage. The main attraction is the Road to Emerald City feature, which activates when you land specific symbols on the reels. This feature moves a marker along a path on the screen, with each space offering different prizes or additional spins. While this feature triggers with moderate frequency, the prizes along the path are consistently underwhelming. Here's the psychological trap. The feature shows you all the spaces on the path, including some that promise much larger prizes further down. But the game almost always ends your progression before you reach those valuable spaces. You can see where the big wins are, you know they exist within the feature, but the math ensures you stop just short of reaching them most of the time. Wizard of Oz Road to Emerald City machines are extremely popular with older players and people who grew up with the classic film. This demographic trust in the brand makes them less likely to question whether the game offers fair value. They're playing for nostalgia and theme, not to analyze mathematics, but the numbers don't lie. Wizard of Oz Road to Emerald City has an RTP around 92 to 93%, and the high volatility means long stretches between significant wins. The combination of disappointing bonus payouts, frustrating near misses on the path feature, and below average RTP makes this one of the worst licensed slots on the floor. And speaking of disappointing features, number 7 has a bonus structure that people who service these machines describe as borderline unethical in how it manipulates player expectations. Machine number 7, Dragon Spin. Dragon Spin from Bali presents itself as an Asian-themed slot with mystical dragons and the promise of magical wins. The game's main feature is a spinning wheel that determines which of several different bonus modes you'll receive when you land 3 or more bonus symbols. This variety sounds appealing, but those familiar with the machine warn that Dragon Spin is designed to frustrate and disappoint. The core manipulation in Dragon Spin comes from how the bonus wheel works. When you trigger the feature, which already happens less frequently than comparable slots, you spin a wheel that's divided into sections representing different bonus types. Some sections offer free spins with stacked wilds, others offer real sync features, and some offer persistence features. But here's the catch: the wheel is heavily weighted toward the least valuable bonus options. The sections offering the best features, like high numbers of free spins or powerful wild features, occupy tiny slivers of the wheel. Meanwhile, the weakest bonuses occupy large portions of the wheel. This creates a devastating psychological moment every time you trigger the bonus. You can see all the possible outcomes on the wheel, including the really valuable ones. The wheel spins, building anticipation, and then it consistently lands on one of the weaker options. You feel cheated because you can literally see how close you came to a better feature. Dragon Spin has an RTP around 93 to 94%, which is below average. But the real problem is how the bonus wheel system affects player behavior. After experiencing disappointment from the wheel multiple times, players start betting more aggressively, convinced that eventually the wheel will land on one of the good sections. It doesn't work that way mathematically, but the visual presentation makes it feel like it should. Players at Dragon Spin machines show visible frustration and anger when the wheel lands poorly. But instead of taking that as a sign to stop playing, most players interpret it as bad luck that will eventually turn around. They keep feeding money into the machine, chasing a better bonus wheel outcome that statistically may never come. The players always fall in the oldest trick in the casino book. Dragon Spin cabinets are often positioned in Asian gaming areas of the casino, where the theme is most likely to appeal to the target demographic. The dragon imagery and Asian motifs are designed to create cultural resonance, making players more comfortable and likely to play longer sessions. But that comfort comes at a significant financial cost. And if you think a disappointing bonus wheel is bad, number 8 has a collecting feature that's even more psychologically damaging. Machine number 8, Jinji Bao Siki Endless Treasure. This game from Scientific Games and Shufflemaster is part of the Jinji Bao Shi series, which has become incredibly popular in casinos with large Asian player demographics. The Endless Treasure version promises unlimited potential through its hold and spin collecting feature, but people who service these machines reveal that the treasure is anything but endless, and the feature is specifically designed to keep you playing far longer than you should. The main feature in Jinji Bao Shi Endless Treasure is triggered by landing 6 or more gold coin symbols. These coins lock in place and you get 3 re-spins. Each new coin that lands resets the counter back to 3 spins. The feature continues until you either fill the entire screen with coins or run out of spins with no new coins landing. Let's unravel the secrets of this slot, shall we? The initial trigger with 6 coins happens with moderate frequency, enough to keep you engaged. But once you're in the feature, the math becomes brutally stingy. New coins land just frequently enough to reset your spin count and keep the feature alive, creating hope that you're building toward a big payout. But those coins that do land typically have very small values attached to them. You might collect 20 or 30 coins during a long feature session and end up with a total payout of $15 or $20, which seems pathetic after the buildup and anticipation of watching the feature play out for several minutes. This is one of the most effective retention mechanisms in the industry. Once a player triggers the hold and spin feature, they're completely locked in, watching every spin with intense focus, hoping for more coins to land. The feature can stretch on for 5 or 10 minutes, keeping the player engaged far longer than a standard bonus round. The real psychological damage comes from what's called the near-miss pattern. During the feature, coins will frequently land on the reels but just miss the positions where they would lock in. A coin lands on reel 3 in the row just above the playing grid, where it does nothing. Or coins fill up most of the screen, but that last position you need to complete a row just won't fill, and your spins run out. Jinji Bao Si Endless Treasure has an RTP around 93%, depending on settings. The volatility is extremely high, meaning most of your regular spins lose completely, and you're entirely dependent on the hold and spin feature for any return. But when that feature consistently disappoints with minimal payouts after lengthy playtime, the overall experience becomes deeply frustrating. Players at Jinji Bao Si Endless Treasure exhibit some of the most aggressive loss-chasing behavior observed on casino floors. After experiencing a disappointing hold and spin feature, players immediately start betting higher, trying to trigger it again and achieve a better result. This cycle can continue until the entire bankroll is depleted. Speaking of aggressive loss chasing, number 9 has a feature that's mathematically designed to encourage exactly that behavior. Machine number 9, Monopoly Hot Shot. The Monopoly brand from Scientific Games has been a casino staple for decades. The Hot Shot version promises quick action and frequent bonus triggers with its unique reel structure and multi-level progressive system. But casino workers warn that Monopoly Hot Shot is actually one of the most deceptive games on the floor, hiding predatory mathematics behind a trusted brand name. You might be familiar with the friendly Monopoly board game, but this one's completely different. Monopoly Hot Shot uses a structure with 5 separate reel sets that all spin simultaneously on a single bet. This looks impressive and creates a sense of action and value. Surely with 5 reel sets spinning at once, your chances of winning are multiplied 5 times, right? That's what the game wants you to think, but it's not how the math actually works. Each individual reel set in Monopoly Hot Shot has terrible odds. The game's overall RTP is distributed across all 5 sets, so each set individually is paying out at a rate far lower than a standard single reel set game. Yes, you're getting 5 chances to win per spin, but each individual chance is worth significantly less than it appears. The Hot Shot progressive feature is the game's main attraction. When you land bonus symbols, they accumulate in a meter. Fill the meter, and you get to spin a wheel that awards one of several progressive jackpots or other prizes. The low-level progressives hit fairly regularly, but they're typically $20 to $50, hardly life-changing amounts. The higher-level progressives, where the real money is, are extremely rare, and here's the manipulation. The wheel is divided into sections, with the large jackpots occupying tiny slices. When you spin the wheel after filling your meter, which took significant time and money to accomplish, it almost always lands on one of the small prizes. But you can see the big progressive amounts on the wheel. You know they're possible. You were so close. This creates immediate compulsion to keep playing, to fill that meter again, to get another spin and hopefully land on a better section next time. The wheel physics appear to slow down dramatically when approaching the big jackpot sections, creating agonizing near misses that feel intentionally cruel. Monopoly. Hot shot machines generate extremely high revenue per square foot of floor space. The combination of the trusted Monopoly brand, the exciting visual presentation of 5 simultaneous reel sets, and the progressive wheel feature keeps players locked in for extended sessions, often losing far more than they ever would on a standard single reel game. The RTP on Monopoly Hot Shot reportedly sits around 91 to 93%, depending on configuration, which is quite poor. But the high-action format masks how quickly you're losing, because there's always something happening on screen across the 5 reel sets. You don't realize how much you're down until you check your credits and discover you've burned through $100 in what felt like just a few minutes. And if you think that's bad, number 2 combines licensed branding with one of the most frustrating game mechanics in the industry. And just when you think you've seen the worst of psychological manipulation, this next one takes it to an entirely different level. Machine number 10, Buffalo Grand. Buffalo slots from Aristocrat have been incredibly popular for over a decade. The original Buffalo created a loyal following of players who loved the high volatility and potential for massive wins during the free spins bonus. Buffalo Grand was supposed to be an enhanced version with a grand jackpot feature added on top of the classic gameplay. But casino workers warn that Buffalo Grand takes everything people loved about the original and ruins it with worse mathematics and a frustrating jackpot mechanism. The base game in Buffalo Grand plays similarly to the original Buffalo. You're looking to land 3 or more scatter symbols to trigger the free spins bonus, which offers up to 20 free games with increasing multipliers. This feature made the original Buffalo exciting because when it hit well, it could produce wins of hundreds or thousands of times your bet. But here's the reality. The scatter distribution in Buffalo Grand is tighter than the original Buffalo. The bonus triggers less frequently, and players regularly go 200 or 300 spins without seeing the feature activate. At higher denominations, this can mean spending hundreds of dollars just to get one bonus round. The Grand Jackpot feature, which is supposed to be the big upgrade, actually makes the game worse. A portion of each bet funds the Grand Jackpot, which means less money is returned through the base game and standard bonus. You're essentially paying for the chance at a jackpot with reduced performance in the core gameplay that attracted people to Buffalo in the first place. The Grand Jackpot triggers very infrequently compared to how much money players pour into the game chasing it. And when it does hit, it's often not substantial enough to justify the reduced base game RTP. A Grand Jackpot of a few $100s might sound nice until you realize you would have won more over time if the base game paid better. Buffalo Grand is a cautionary tale of how adding features can actually make a game worse for players. The original Buffalo had its fans because despite high volatility, when you won big. Buffalo Grand dampened that winning potential, spread the money across a jackpot mechanism that rarely pays, and created an overall experience that's frustrating for everyone except the casino. Players at Buffalo Grand machines show a lot of brand loyalty disappointment. They come to the game expecting the Buffalo experience they know and love, but they find a watered-down version that doesn't hit as hard or as often. Many switch back to finding original Buffalo machines or move on to other games entirely, but not before losing significant money to Buffalo Grand first. The RTP on Buffalo Grand is estimated at around 93 to 94%, which might sound reasonable, but remember that's averaging in the very rare Grand Jackpot hits. For the typical player in a typical session, the effective return is much lower. And as frustrating as Buffalo Grand is, nothing compares to the number 11 worst slot that casino workers say you should avoid at all costs in 2025. Machine number 11, Lanterns of the Dragon, Dragon's Prize. This one shocks a lot of players because Lanterns of the Dragon, Dragon's Prize looks like a premium, big-budget machine. Bright gold lanterns, elegant Chinese art, and an epic dragon bonus that seems like it should pay huge. Many casual players genuinely believe it's a special machine with better odds. So how could Dragon's Prize end up being one of the worst land-based slots to sit at in 2025? Here's what people who've worked with this machine and others in its series consistently reveal. The entire Dragon's Prize system is built around flashy visuals and escalating lantern features, but behind that spectacle is a math model designed to drain bankrolls faster than most players expect. The original Asian-themed classics from the same manufacturer used to be simple: frequent line hits, reasonable bonuses, and steady gameplay that kept you afloat. But Dragon's Prize took that foundation and overloaded it with multiple progressive meters, lantern collections, and unlockable features. On paper, it sounds like a modern improvement. In reality, it turned a once medium volatility experience into an extremely volatile, highly predatory one. The base game RTP on Dragon's Prize is often configured between 89 and 92%, meaningfully lower than older versions of these games. And because so much of the return is tied up inside rare progressive features, the reels feel ice cold during normal spins. Most players see constant dead spins or tiny 5% to 10% returns that barely move the credit meter. The Lantern Collection system is advertised as the key to unlocking bigger bonuses. As you spin, lanterns light up the frame of the screen, supposedly bringing you closer to the Dragon's Prize feature. It's a seductive mechanic. You feel like you're building towards something meaningful. But here's the truth casino workers point out. The lantern tally barely changes your actual odds. You can fill almost the entire frame and still miss the bonus for another 80 spins. And when you do reach the Dragon's Prize feature, the payouts are notoriously underwhelming. The bonus teases you with grand visuals, Dragons circling the reels, glowing chests, animated fire, but the overwhelming majority of bonus rounds end with low-tier coin values that don't even cover the cost of the spins you spent getting there. Here's where the machine becomes particularly manipulative. The lantern system creates a sunk cost trap. Once you've lit most of the lanterns, walking away feels like throwing away progress. Floor staff have watched players stand up, reconsider, sit back down, and keep spinning because they don't want someone else to get the bonus. But insiders confirm the visible lantern progress does not meaningfully improve the bonus odds. The machine is designed to make you feel locked in, even though the math stays the same. It gets worse. The progressive chests hovering above the reels, mini, minor, major, and grand, rise slowly but visibly, creating the illusion that you're getting close to a payoff. Players familiar with the internal numbers say the higher chests, especially the major and grand, are astronomically unlikely to hit. They exist primarily as psychological bait, not actual attainable prizes. Fans of earlier lantern-style games often sit down at Dragon's Prize expecting a slightly upgraded version of something they already enjoy. Instead, they get a harsher RTP, more volatile reels, bonuses that trigger less frequently, and a misleading collection system that strings them along far longer than they planned. The disappointment is amplified because it trades on nostalgia, and then betrays it. Dragon's Prize machines are deliberately placed in high-traffic areas, near entrances or by popular tables, because the bright gold lantern animations draw eyes instantly. Casinos know the machine's aesthetics are enough to make players assume it's generous. But performance statistics show the opposite. Dragon's Prize consistently ranks among the highest-earning machines for the house in its category, despite low player satisfaction. That's the core issue. Everything about Lanterns of the Dragon's Prize, from the lantern progression to the tease animations to the glowing jackpot chests, is engineered to maximize casino profit and minimize player return. The math, volatility, and deceptive progress mechanics all work together to keep players spinning long after they should have cashed out. Those who have worked the slot floor sum it up like this. The lanterns look like progress, but they're just decoration. The dragon doesn't save you, it drains you. If you like earlier lanterns or Asian theme machines, avoid Dragon's Prize entirely. There are dozens of better options that play fairly and don't trap you with fake progress systems. Dragon's Prize uses stunning visuals to disguise brutal math, and according to people who see its numbers every day, it's one of the worst choices you can make on a casino floor in 2025. The reality is that all slot machines favor the house over time. That's how the casino business model works. But by understanding which specific slots are mathematically and psychologically engineered to be even worse for players, you can make informed decisions about where to spend your gambling budget if you choose to play.